1.5 meters of sea level rise, that's all it would take to swallow up half the Maldives. When we think about the climate crisis, few countries are as close to the front line as the Maldives. Our reefs, our fish, our mantas, and even our islands are under the threat.
Manta rays face an existential threat. Together, let's create a healthy, balanced ecosystem for these amazing creatures, for our oceans, and of course, for our planet.
Despite their resilience and magnitude, the oceans are not invincible. The Earth's climate is breaking down, and the oceans, despite doing their best to buffer the impacts, are starting to buckle. How manta rays and their relatives will fare in a climate crisis is still somewhat of an unknown, but we are starting to gather baseline data. Ocean temperatures are rising, causing coral bleaching events, destroying these habitats which are vital for thousands of marine species. Polar ice caps are melting, leading to rising sea levels, causing devastating erosion of coastlines. And as the oceans uptake more carbon dioxide, they are acidifying, making it harder for corals and plankton to form their protective shells and skeletons. These threats are serious, they're real, and they're already here.
The Maldives has experienced several bleaching events in recent years. We rely on healthy coral reefs for food, coastal protection, and our livelihoods. If we lose our country's reefs, we lose more than just a thing of beauty, we lose our lifeline. As the coral reef dies off, we worry that the cleaner fish will also disappear. Manta rays have a symbiotic relationship with these little fish, and if they vanish, then mantas will stop visiting. The reef though, it's completely degraded, completely bleached. The last time I was here, it was so much better, so much healthier.
Cleaning stations are an important site for manta rays. Not only do they use them as a site to get cleaned of parasites, visiting cleaning stations is also an opportunity to recuperate and digest in the warm surface waters, as well as socialize. With such expansive areas to cover in search of a mate, cleaning stations offer the perfect meeting point. The loss of cleaning stations as a habitat could have dire consequences for manta ray reproduction.
Over the last 2.5 weeks, we have been mapping cleaning stations using time-lapse burst photography. These images are then used to create 3D models of the cleaning stations, which we can compare over time.
Plankton is the most important part of the ecosystem here. Zooplankton are a range of tiny animals barely the size of a grain of rice, but they are building blocks for the food web and a vital food source for the manta rays.
Yeah, there's loads of plankton here. Let's do a trawl.
We have caught a fair bit of plankton with a lot of coffee buds and arrowworms. So now Now we are going back to the main board to look at this under the microscope.
Yep, we've got a nice sample of plankton in here. During this expedition, we collected plankton samples from manta ray feeding sites to gather baseline data on species composition and abundance.
This is a sample from today in the morning. We have got some arrowworms and copyboards here. Biogeochemical models project a reduction in zooplankton biomass globally by 10%. However, the decrease could be as high as 50% in tropical regions. As the climate crisis intensifies, the threat of manta ray survival are increasing.
The South Asian monsoon is weakening, and it is the winds generated by this monsoon which drives ocean productivity in the Maldives. If this trend is anything to go by, the continued climate breakdown and the weakening of the monsoons could spell disaster for the reproductive success of the Maldives manta rays. Our data that now spans 15 years shows a link between increased wind speed and increased manta sightings. As the wind speed increases and generates more productivity, this increases food availability for the manta rays, which in turn provides more opportunities for them to reproduce. And conversely, when reproductive activity is reduced, we can see that this is also linked to a weakening of the monsoons and reduction in the wind speeds and increases in sea surface temperature.
So really, it's a double-edged sword.
Climate breakdown may well lead to less productive waters, leaving manta rays without enough food to sustain healthy populations, while simultaneously destroying the habitats on which they're dependent for reproduction.
The good news is that we can all do something to help. At the Manta Trust, we've reviewed our aims and operations and created a climate mandate to help us reduce our carbon footprint. If we do not act now, the impact on humans and all life on Earth will be catastrophic.